In this video, we're going to talk about how to run for office in New York. No state makes it more difficult. No state in the union makes it more complicated. What I'm going to do in this video is try and take the complicated and make it as easy for you to understand as possible so that you can navigate your way through the process. And stick with me till the end of this video because I got a free gift for you. There are basically four things that we're going to cover in this video, and some of it you need to know to understand the rules. One is the role of New York's political parties. Two, the rudiments and fundamentals of getting on the ballot. Three, the filing process to qualify for a ballot. And then I'm going to go into a few tips about how you win an election once you're on the ballot. The first thing I need to mention involves you because it involves a decision you must make at the outset if you want to run for office in New York. Are you going to run as an independent? Are you going to run as a member of a political party? That is up to you. I will say at the outset that it is a lot easier to get your name on the ballot and succeed in running for office if you decide to run as a member of a political party. It doesn't mean independents can't run and independents don't ever win, because sometimes they do, but you need to know that at the outset because it affects the requirements that you have to fulfill to get on the ballot. Having said that, you might be wondering, why should you join a political party? What makes it easier about running for office in New York to be a member of a political party? Well, as I mentioned, there are four in New York. They exist. They have existed for a long, long time. Guess what? They have a structure. They have a headquarters. They have people in place that have helped candidates run on their party line. They have people in place who've done the grunt work that it takes to get your name on the ballot. They have sources of money that they can turn you on to. They have an infrastructure that already exists. And if you're not going to be a part of their infrastructure, then you have to duplicate that all by yourself if you want to run as an independent. So most people who win elections in New York, in fact 99.9% of the people who are elected, do so as members of a political party. The third thing I need to cover is the most cumbersome process that candidates have to go through in New York. It's getting on the ballot. And it's because of the requirement that you have to fulfill to get on the ballot. Basically, it's this. It's called petitions and it's called signatures. And if you don't know the rules about how that is done, you will get your clock cleaned. You'll be like a football coach trying to coach a football team in a game where there are no rules. It's very hard to win the game that way. So, if you are running for what we call a statewide office, or a member of the New York legislature, and you want to know what those rules are, you go to the New York State Board of Elections. It's right there, how to run for office, and they will tell you everything that you need to know about petitions, who can sign them, etc. If you're running for a county-wide office, what you want to do is go to your county and go to Board of Elections, and they will have the same kind of information there that tells you how you circulate petitions, who's allowed to sign. Here's the point, though. If you don't bother to read those rules, if you don't bother to comprehend those rules, what will happen is you'll think you're complying and you'll go out and get all of the signatures that you need to get your name on the ballot, and they'll find something wrong with them and they'll throw them out and you're past the deadline to go redo them. That's what trips candidates. Now, they're very, very, very particular about those petitions. Who gets to sign them? The period in which people sign them, the information that goes along with their signature, like the date they signed it, the full address that they signed it. Because if you have an opponent that doesn't want you on the ballot, the first thing they're going to do is try and throw out your signatures and knock you off the ballot completely. So this is advice that I give even to veteran office holders in New York. At the petition process in any campaign that you're involved with, first thing we do is look for someone who's done this before to help us do it in this race, in this jurisdiction. And failing that, if you go to Google and you type in New York election law attorneys, you're going to find pages and pages of attorneys in New York that specialize in this craft. My bottom line is, if you're running for office for the first time in New York, don't try and do this by yourself. If you have difficulty finding them, put it in the comments section of this video and tell me where you live and I'll help you find it. Point 4, this involves relationships, and I need to talk for a minute about just how things work. The 4 political parties are Republican, Conservative, Democrat, Working Families. They are legitimate, recognized political parties in New York, and there are no other. There is no independence party, there's no other party that has their name of their party on the ballot. Now, there is a quirky law in New York, one of the few states with this kind of system. What happens if you want the nomination of more than one party? Well, that's possible. You just have to get permission to run on their line. How do you get that? Well, you really need to be involved in politics, because here's kind of the way it works. If you are a Republican running for governor of New York and you don't also get involved with the Conservative Party and talk to their leaders and break them part of your coalition, you'll end up with a Republican nomination but not the Conservative nomination, and it's very hard to win in New York without 2 lines. Now, generally, the Conservative Party's leaders endorse Republican candidates. Generally, the Working Families Party leaders endorsed Democratic candidates. Usually, in competitive districts, it's a lot easier to win if you have 2 lines instead of 1 line, which is why it's commonly done. How do you find these people? Well, this takes a little bit more digging, but the Republican Party has a website. And on that website, there are 62 counties in New York, and they'll tell you exactly who is the county chairman. So let's say you are a conservative in Erie County, which is Buffalo, and you want to run for a county council seat and you want the support of the Republican Party, you would need to approach the leader of the Republican Party about earning their endorsement, and they might say yes. And if they do, it's called a Wilson Pakula, but it's a term for political operatives. But that's what the law is. And they are allowed to invite you to run on their party, and they are allowed to give you that nomination by vote of committee. What happens if you don't court the other party that you want? Out of sight, out of mind. They're going to wonder who you are, why you didn't show up to ask. So this is the nature of politics in New York. It's more, frankly, it's more European than any other state in the nation, and it is the most difficult in the state to navigate through this process. In fact, longtime incumbents have been tripped by these rules who forgot to ask the attorney to take a look at the petitions before they were filed. Get some help. My best suggestion, but now you at least know a little bit about the process that you have to navigate. I have a free gift for you, and it's in the link below. Let's presume you get on the ballot. The title of the video is How to Win an Election. I invite you to take a look at it. It's 40 minutes long, and we do go into great detail.